everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kendall Furman, and I'm an entrepreneur, content creator, and podcast host, passionate about all things travel, mindset, and spirituality. And I just love coming on here and creating videos to inspire you to live your best life, just as I am doing right now. So in this week's video, it's going to be all about Sedona, a Sedona travel guide. My last road trip video did so well and got so much good feedback, so I decided to make a little video about Sedona. If you didn't know, recently I went on a trip to Sedona, Arizona, and spent 5 amazing days exploring the town, going on hikes, exploring the Vortexes, and doing a really fun Jeep tour there. We had so much fun on our trip, so I'm here to make this video to give you a ton of tips on what to do, what not to do, and plan the most amazing Sedona trip that you possibly can. So in this video, I'm going to be going over what to pack, tips for the drive there, where to stay, where to eat, what hikes to go on. I'm going to be talking about the vortexes, what even are vortexes, what are the vortexes in Sedona, and what you should do at each vortex in order to amplify your energy at each space. I'll also be giving tips on the famous Jeep off-roading trails, which trails to go on, which Jeep tour to do, and last but not least, I'm going to be giving tips on where to take the best photos, so the best photo spots, the best angles, and what you should wear at each photo spot. Before we start this video, I wanted to take the time to recognize that Sedona is a highly energetic place on native land. So make sure when you're traveling there, you are really respecting the land and the locals there. Sedona is becoming more and more popular, meaning more and more tourists are coming in, and a lot of the locals are unhappy with the way that tourists are treating the land there. So just make sure you're doing your part, leaving no trace, and picking up after yourself and respecting the locals and the land there. Whenever I travel, it's really important to me that I respect the places that I'm going to. So whether that's giving an offering to the land or giving back in any way I can through volunteering or donation, I just like to make sure that I am respectful and I'm honoring the places that I'm going to, and I'm not just taking memories, taking souvenirs without giving back. So just make sure to be respectful of the area and extra cautious to make sure you're not leaving anything behind so that we can keep the sacredness of the land and keep the land and waters clean. That being said, I can't wait to share my Sedona tips with you, so let's hop right into the video. What to pack for Sedona. Sedona is very, very hot. And speaking of hot, I'm taking this jacket off because it is way too hot to be wearing it right now. And this hat. I wore it almost every day in Sedona. Don't need to wear it now. So we were in Sedona for 5 full days, and I'm not sure how long you're going to be going, but I would just recommend bringing 1 hiking outfit per day and 1 pair of hiking shoes per day. Like I said, it's going to be very hot, especially with the summer months coming up, so you're going to be sweating a lot, and you don't want to wear your sweaty clothes and socks over again. That would be gross. So what I packed for hiking outfits were cute little yoga sets, so like matching biker shorts and sports bras, and I also packed some normal jean shorts and t-shirts to go on the hikes. While I was there, I also bought a cute Sedona shirt and cropped it because I thought it would be really cute to wear a Sedona shirt in Sedona. And I would definitely recommend wearing t-shirts on the hike over your sports bra just because the sun is out and you don't want to get sunburned. Also, bring anything else you need like hats, sunglasses, your toiletries, obviously your hiking shoes, and then also bring normal clothes as well for going out in the town. Sedona itself isn't super fancy, so you're not going to be needing to bring any dresses or fancy clothes. You're just going to want to be casual and just bring some outfits for going out to dinner or walking around the town in. I brought 1 pair of jeans and a couple of other fun pants and cute outfits to take pictures in around the town, and then I also just brought some comfortable sandals to walk around in. You're also going to want to bring your computer and any other camera gear you need for getting your photos, so camera, tripod, so that you can get your own photos without having to ask anyone else. Getting to Sedona. So we drove from Orange County and it took us about 7 hours, and we only stopped 3 times for just a bathroom break. We didn't stop for food because we packed all the food with us for the drive. My tips for the drive would be to leave super early. No matter where you're coming from, you're gonna wanna beat that morning traffic and get there as fast as you can so that you can enjoy your time in Sedona. So we were able to get there before sunset and still be able to do a hike. Other tips I would give are to definitely bring snacks and food so that you don't have to stop along the way, and then listen to audiobooks along the way. We listened to 1 audiobook and it literally got us through the whole drive and made the drive seem so much faster. The beginning of the drive at least for us from Orange County, it's pretty boring driving through California. There's really nothing around, but once you get about like 30 minutes from Sedona is when it starts to get really beautiful and you start to see the red rocks. So you're gonna wanna wake up around that time if you've been napping so that you can get some videos of you driving into Sedona like this video I got here. Where to stay in Sedona. So there are a ton of different places to stay in Sedona. You can camp, you can stay in Airbnbs or hotels. Normally we would love to camp, but for this trip we wanted to have the luxury of our own bed and a shower, so we decided to book a hotel. Unfortunately, there were no Airbnbs in the area in our budget. Biggest tip I have for booking Airbnbs or hotels is to book early because it gets really expensive and booked out way in advance. So no matter where you're planning on staying, just look into it very early and book in advance so that you can get the best price possible and that you can make sure that they have places available for your dates. So the first place we stayed in was called the Star Motel, and it was right in the middle of Uptown. Pros of staying here was that it was right in the middle of town. I could literally walk outside, go to a coffee shop, go to a restaurant, go to the shops, and it was really easy to get around. I also really loved how big this hotel room was. I was a little worried being that it was a motel, but I guess it was recently renovated and the new managers put a bunch of cute decor. The beds are so big and so comfortable, and we even had our own kitchen so that we can make our own food in the morning. I loved this place and I would definitely stay here again, and I definitely recommend looking into this place. The second place we stayed in was a bigger hotel about 10 minutes away from Uptown. I did not personally like this hotel, so I'm not going to say the name of it. The room was really small, the bathroom door wouldn't close, there was no hot water, and there was just a ton of really small inconveniences that made it not very enjoyable stay. It did have a pool and jacuzzi, which was nice, but I don't think that made up for the fact that there was no hot water. And it was just a little bit too much of a resort for us. Me and Alex like to stay in more authentic and chill places. This was just a little too many people around us and just felt like a family resort, so it wasn't really our favorite vibe. Like I said, there are a ton of different Airbnbs and hotels in the area, and my main point of advice would be to book early. Everything is so expensive. Even if you do book early, the places there are really, really expensive. Just to give you an idea, the motel that we stayed in was about $200 a night, and the hotel we stayed in was $350 a night. However, we didn't actually have to pay this price because we actually used credit card points. So the reason Alex and I get to travel for free, and the reason that we haven't had to pay for a flight or a hotel in the last year or so, is because we've built up a lot of points on our credit cards and we use those to travel. So I am not a financial advisor and this is not sponsored, but a few of the credit cards we use is Chase Sapphire, Chase Business Inc., and Amex business cards to get our points. And if you guys are interested in starting those credit cards and getting your own points, I have linked them below, and when you sign up, you're gonna get your own bonus points to use towards your first trip. So if you want to start traveling for free like us, then definitely check it out below, do your research, and see if it's something that is a good fit for you. All right, food. Just a disclaimer, everything in Sedona is super expensive, like Los Angeles, New York, Disneyland type of expensive. I was really shocked when we went there. It's like an average of $25 a meal for like a basic plate of pasta. However, I do have some amazing tips on where you can go for more affordable options, and of course, vegan options! If you didn't know, I am plant-based. I've been plant-based for over a year now, so whenever I travel, I make sure I find places that are vegan restaurants or have good vegan options so that I have something to eat. Alex is not vegan, so we like to go to places that have both vegan options and not vegan options, so I'll give you some options for both. But before I get into the restaurants, let me just tell you that we actually brought a lot of our own food because we knew we were gonna have a kitchen in the first place, and because we knew we were waking up super early before any of the restaurants opened for the different hikes. We brought all of our own breakfast food. So we brought instant oatmeal, some fruit, toast, and we brought all of our stuff for our coffees and teas. I love my morning lattes, like my chai lattes, coffee lattes, anything. Like I need to have my milk frothed. Yes, I need that. So I brought my own milk frother just so that I could have my coffee and my tea how I like it in the morning. And it was really nice to have all our own food because we saved a lot of money on being able to eat our own food. I would also recommend bringing some food that you can make into sandwiches for the hikes because you're going to be out all day, and then also bringing protein bars for the hikes as well. And then you can eat out at restaurants for dinner. This saves you money, and it also makes it easier in the morning time for when you go on those early hikes. All right, so the first restaurant I'm going to recommend is Thai Place Uptown. This was the first restaurant we went to when we got to Sedona, and we loved it so much that we went back. Not only is the food amazing, but it's also very reasonably priced, like under $10, around $10 for a meal. So I tried the Thai coconut soup and the yellow curry, and it was so yummy. And it was located right next to the first motel that we stayed in, so it was super easy to get to, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. The second place I would recommend going is Chocolate. This is an all-organic, plant-based restaurant, and it's the only organic restaurant that you will find in Sedona. Not only does this place have amazing food, it's also super cute, amazing vibes. It was made by Kundalini yogis, so the whole place feels like this peaceful oasis. First you order at the front, and then you can either sit inside or walk through the wellness shop and get to the beautiful garden outside. There was live music playing, a garden, couches, swings, and it was such an amazing time. I ordered the coconut dal and Alex got the enchiladas. We also got chai and a green smoothie. I would definitely recommend to try their enchiladas and also just look to see what they have on the specials. Before we left, I spent some time browsing the shop where they have books, supplements, clothes, essential oils, candles, and more. I literally wanted to buy everything, but ended up just getting some rose water. I highly recommend checking this place out. Even if you're not plant-based or vegan, the food is so yummy and the place is so cute, and it's the only organic food place you're going to find. Because it is organic and locally sourced, the place is a bit more on the expensive side, but I think it's really worth it for that good, yummy food, and it felt so good to be eating some healthy food after a long hike. So definitely check it out. Another place we went to a few times was called the Local Juicery. We went here twice before our hikes just to get a quick bite. They have a lot of quick things to go, like to-go sandwiches, to-go salads, and also smoothies, acai bowls, and teas and coffees. The food was pretty good. I would not recommend getting the matcha latte. I'm really picky with my matchas, so I did not like it, but the smoothies were really good as well. However, just a warning, it is really expensive, so just keep that in mind. So in case you don't want to make all of your breakfasts at home, a good breakfast option is called the Secret Garden Cafe. We went here on our way back from our first hike early in the morning, and I chose this place because it had really good vegan options and great reviews for the vegan options as well. I had the tofu scramble, super yummy. Alex really liked it as well, and I would definitely recommend going here for a quick bite for breakfast. So another dinner option that you can go to is called Geraldo's Italian Kitchen. I really like this place. It was really cute on the outside. It had hanging lights, and they also had a lot of vegan options. So they had vegan pizza, vegan pastas, soups, and it was really yummy and not too expensive. Definitely still a little pricey, but not outrageous. Another option is called Elotes. Apparently this is the best Mexican restaurant in all of Sedona, so much that it's really popular that there is a wait list to get on and you have to make reservations in advance. We were able to get in because we got put on the cancellation list, so they literally called us last minute after our hike saying there was availability at the bar, and we literally went right after our hike wearing our hiking clothes, and no one even said anything. So it is a nicer restaurant, but you don't have to get super fancy for it. They did have vegan options, which is why we went. However, I didn't like the vegan options that much, just being honest with you, and it was crazy expensive for a vegan plate that I didn't even like. So I think this is probably more for meat eaters or people who aren't vegan. I would definitely check out the menu to see if there's anything you like. I personally don't think it's worth it for vegans. The food wasn't that great, but do your own research. It is apparently the best Mexican restaurant there, and I think it's more for people who eat meat and tacos and stuff like that. All right, so that's it for the food. Now on to the hikes. So the first hike that we went on, and my personal favorite, is called the Devil's Bridge hike. Devil's Bridge is probably one of the most popular hikes, and you've probably seen it all around social media. Because of that, it gets very crowded, so we decided to wake up super early at 3 a.m. We left the Star Motel at 4 a.m. and got to the parking lot at 4:30 to start our hike. We started the hike at around 4:30, and it took us 45 minutes to get to the top. This hike is an easy to moderate hike, and it's a 4-mile loop from the parking lot, so 2 miles there and 2 miles back. However, I heard a little secret that if you park at the Mezcal parking lot instead of the Devil's Bridge parking lot, it actually cuts the hike in about half. So if you want a shorter hike, check out the Mezcal Trail parking lot. So from the Devil's Bridge parking lot, the hike is pretty much flat the whole way. I wouldn't even call it a hike, more like a leisurely walk. Then once you get to about the halfway point and you see the Devil's Bridge sign, it starts to slowly get a little steeper until about half a mile to the bridge. It gets pretty steep and it's like basically a stair stepper all the way up, and then you get to the bridge. So tips for this hike are to go early. Make sure you're at the parking lot by 4 a.m. or 4:30 at the latest. Like I said, it gets really crowded and I've heard that people wait 2 to 3 hours just to walk across the bridge and get a photo. So if you want to be able to walk across the bridge without waiting and take your photos, then definitely get there really, really early. Even at 6 a.m. when we were leaving the hike, there was already a line forming just to get a photo. What to wear? Because you'll be getting there really early, make sure you bring warm clothes to layer up with because it gets really cold. So I was wearing my cute hiking outfit underneath and I put shorts and a jacket over and I was still freezing. So I would recommend bringing a beanie, maybe some gloves, and also a headlamp because it's dark out. You're gonna need to see the hike. We had our phone flashlights, which worked okay if you don't want to go buy a headlamp, but a headlamp is definitely preferred. For photos, you're obviously going to want to get the pictures on the bridge itself, and personally, I think the best time to get photos are right after sunrise and before the sun peaks over the mountain so that there's no direct sunlight. But I'm going to be giving more photo tips at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Another famous hiking spot is called Cathedral Rock, and it is also a vortex. How to get to Cathedral Rock? We had a difficult time with parking, not gonna lie. So there are 2 parking lots right next to Cathedral Rock that are pretty limited with spaces, and they're always packed with people, and there's always a line to get to the parking lot. So I would say that it takes about 15 to 30 minutes to get a spot. People are always coming and going, so you don't have to worry about never getting a spot, it's just that you have to wait. So if you're okay with waiting for a spot and you give yourself enough time before your hike to wait for parking, then you can definitely park right at the bottom of Cathedral Rock. If you're like Alex and I, we did not plan for that and we were running a little bit late and we wanted to get to the top, so we drove a mile away and parked at the Little Horse Trailhead. It is a $5 fee to park there, like all of the other parking lots as well, and it only added about 15 minutes to our hike, and it was a really nice and beautiful leisurely walk, and there's actually a really great spot to take some photos with Cathedral Rock right behind you. So whatever you decide to do, if you want to park right at the hike, definitely leave yourself some more time, or if you're fine with parking a little bit ways away and adding 15 minutes, then you can do that as well. So Cathedral Rock is considered a moderate to difficult hike. It's only 1.5 miles round trip, but because you're gaining 750 feet in elevation, it can be pretty steep of a hike. So the beginning of a hike starts off pretty easy, a steady climb up the mountain. Then once you get about halfway, it starts to get a lot steeper and slicker. And then there's a portion of the hike that's actually this crevice, and it's basically a vertical crevice that you have to walk in between all the way to the top. This isn't as difficult as it looks, I promise. However, if you do have injuries or you get dizzy or you don't like heights, this might be a little difficult for you. But for me, it was pretty easy and we got to the top and no problem. So after that little part, it's a little bit more of a climb as well, maybe about 45 minutes in total to get to the top. Once you're at the top, it's a beautiful view between 2 rocks. You can go 2 ways, either go to the right and look off at the viewpoint and take some photos there, or you can go left and do a little bit more hiking to get to this other beautiful spot where you can take photos and chill out and look at the rocks. So tips for this hike, like I said, get there early so that you can get parking. I would also recommend going around sunset hour so that you can get that really beautiful golden light photo. I would recommend getting there 2 hours early so that you have enough time to park, climb, enjoy the area, and get any photos that you need before hiking down before it gets too dark. There are a ton of photo spots in Cathedral Rock, and I'll talk about that later as well. But a fun fact about Cathedral Rock, every Tuesday there's a free ecstatic dance about halfway up the mountain to your left. We got recommended by a ton of friends to check this ecstatic dance out, and we had so much fun. We started off our trip with this ecstatic dance, and it was so nice to be able to dance and meditate at the beginning of our trip on a vortex watching the sunset, and I definitely recommend going. Also, a fun little synchronicity fact, the guy who runs the ecstatic dance, his name is Brandon Strabala, and it's my friend Paige Strabala's cousin, and I had no idea until after the fact when we were talking about it, and she was like, oh yeah, that's my cousin. So a little backstory on this ecstatic dance. Brandon's wife died of cancer 3 years ago, and she loved to dance. So in honor of her, he decided to throw a free ecstatic dance every single Tuesday so everyone could get together and dance in memory of her. He also wrote a book called Dancing Beyond Cancer, and this whole organization is called Dancing Beyond Cancer. I'll link everything below so that you can learn more if you're interested in going, but I definitely recommend checking out this dance. It was one of our favorite things that we did the entire trip. The next place we went was Slide Rock State Park. The Slide Rock gets its name from the natural water slide that forms within the riverbed, and it is so much fun. I wouldn't call this a hike, more of a leisurely walk to a fun hangout zone, but it honestly is perfect for everyone. Good for families, couples, friend groups, young people, old people, whoever you are, you're definitely gonna have fun at this Slide Rock. So it's about a 25-minute drive from the main area of Sedona and then a 15-minute walk from the parking lot. There are a ton of different areas in Slide Rock depending on the vibe you're looking for. So if you're with a family or you just want some adventure, then definitely stay in the main area with the Slide Rock and the cliff jump. If you want to get away from the crowd but still want to be close to the main area, then you can just hike up about 5 minutes and secure your own little spot. This is where Alex and I stayed so that we can get the best of both worlds, hanging out by ourselves, playing our own music, chilling, and we could also go back and hang out in the main area. If you want even more privacy and you just don't want to be around anyone and you don't care about the Slide Rock, then you can just keep hiking up and you can find your own little private secluded spot. So we started off this day by walking up a little bit away from the crowd and having our own little picnic, reading, chilling, listening to music, and then right before it closed, we walked down a bit so that we could enjoy the water slide and the cliff jump. Alex really loved the water slide and did it multiple times. I, on the other hand, wasn't a huge fan. The water was freezing and the rocks kind of hurt to slide down. I'm usually not afraid of anything like this. I love cliff jumping, I love skydiving, bungee jumping, but when it came to this little Slide Rock, for some reason I was freaking out the whole time. But it was still really fun and I would recommend doing it if you're there. Alex got to try the cliff jump and he said it was a lot of fun. It really isn't that high, maybe like 10 feet. I unfortunately did not get to try it. I tried to walk up and the rangers were like, no, the park's closed. So just a warning, the park closes at 5 a.m. and you have an hour to get back to your car before the parking lot closes and locks. So you're gonna wanna get there really early so that you have enough time. We were a little bit late, so we only really had 2 hours to hang out there. So definitely keep that in mind. So what to bring for your Slide Rock day? Bring anything you would need for a normal beach day. So bring towels, bring food for picnic, drinks, speakers, hats, sunscreen, sunglasses, and also bring some warm clothes to put on afterwards because the water is very cold. Overall cost for this trip would be about, I think, $30 to $50. So it's $20 to park there all day. And then you're probably going to spend money on bringing food and drinks. So one very, very important thing to note is that there have been traces of E. coli at Slide Rock. So make sure you call the Slide Rock State Park number and just ask them what the current water quality is. When we went, it was all good, but just make sure you do your own research just to make sure that the water quality is good and that you're keeping yourself safe while you're there. Overall, I loved Slide Rock and would definitely come back with a group of friends. So we didn't get to do too many hikes on our trip because we wanted to do a bunch of other fun activities as well, but there are a ton of other hikes that you can check out, some of them being Doe Mountain Trail, Fay Canyon, Boynton Canyon, and Airport Mesa. Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of the hikes I listed before or any ones that you research. Just make sure you do your own research and choose hikes that are based on your interest and your hiking level. Now on to the Jeep tour. So there are a ton of off-roading trails in Sedona and hence a ton of Jeep tours. We chose to go with the MYE Jeep tours because we wanted to be able to rent a Jeep on our own without having to be in a group. So a lot of the other Jeep tours are actually group tours and you're gonna be with a bunch of people you don't know, and it's pretty much just as expensive as renting your own Jeep. So because we wanted to be on our own timing and be able to drive the Jeep ourselves, we went with MYE Jeep tours. So another thing we really liked about MYE Jeep tours is that they designed and created their own app that had the directions for the off-roading trails. The thing about Google and Apple Maps is that they don't actually have directions for the off-roading trails. It ends at the main road. So it was really nice to be able to have their app to guide us through the off-roading trails. So renting from MY Jeep Tours costed about $500 for the full 24 hours. So me and Alex split that cost, and it definitely would be even cheaper if you had more people. I know it sounds pretty pricey, but I think it was worth it because if you did a group tour, it would be probably $250 per person anyways. So the fact that you get to have it by yourself makes it worth it. So we started our Jeep rental at 11 a.m. on Friday, and it ended the next day, Saturday at 11 a.m. I think this was the best allotment of time because it gave you the full day Friday and the next morning on Saturday. So even though we rented our Jeep at 11 a.m., we actually didn't start our tours until about 1 p.m. because we had to go back to the hotel, pack everything up to check out of our hotel, and then go to the grocery store to get food. So I would definitely recommend preparing everything the night before so that when you get your Jeep, you can start your tours right away. So the first trail we did is called Soldier's Pass. Now this is a moderate to advanced trail, and it is a lot of fun. So this is about a 20-minute drive from MYE Jeep rental, and it's about a 4.5 mile loop. It should take you about an hour and a half to 2 hours. However, for us, we took about 4 hours because we made a lot of stops along the way to take photos, take videos, to hike on the trails, and to meditate. So depending on how long you're gonna take, it might take you from an hour and a half to a few hours. So on this trail, there's a couple of different spots you're gonna wanna stop to check out. The first place we checked out was called Devil's Kitchen, and it's on the first advanced offshoot of the trail at the very end. Basically, it's this giant sinkhole with a beautiful view. There's also this really cool rock formation that you can drive your Jeep up, and it's pretty scary, but Alex did a pretty good job here. We also got some amazing drone videos here, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. The next place you can stop along your drive is called the Seven Sacred Pools. Usually there's water filling it, but this time it was a little bit too dry, so there was no water. And then the last place you're gonna check out is Soldier's Pass Hike, and it's a short hike, about 15 minutes up to this beautiful cave that you can walk along the inside, take photos in, chill in. Warning though, it is very windy. Since it is a cave, the wind is just like whipping through, so bring a jacket. Most important thing for Soldier's Pass is that you actually need a permit to be able to drive there. So you're gonna wanna look up Soldier's Pass permit before you go and make sure you get a permit for the day that you wanna rent your Jeep. They only pass out, I think, around 12 passes per day, so just make sure you book in advance. When you get the permit, it's going to give you a code for the locks on the gate. So the gate to get to Soldier's Pass is completely locked up, and you can't drive unless you have the code from the permit. Now, if you don't rent a Jeep and you still want to hike this, you totally can. You're just gonna have to park and hike up Soldier's Pass. So the next trail we did is called Schnebly Lookout Point, and it's the perfect trail to go check out the sunset. So we got to the beginning of the trail around 5 p.m. and it took us 45 minutes to get to the top. Now this trail is really easy and very straightforward. It's just one trail, very wide road so that you don't have to cross anyone, and it's bumpy, but not as bumpy as Soldier's Pass or any of the other trails that we did. Once we got to the top, it was a very easy hike to the lookout point, about 5 minutes, and we basically just brought our blankets and some snacks with us so that we could watch the sunset. After that, we drove home in the dark, which was really fun because the Jeep has these really bright lights, so it kind of felt like you were in Indiana Jones or some adventure movie. Then we slept early, and the next day we woke up very early to do Broken Arrow Trail. This is the last trail we did, and it was so much fun, definitely my favorite trail. So Broken Arrow is the most difficult and the most popular trail in Sedona, and it gets very crowded. So we woke up very early and got to the beginning of the trail at 7 a.m. and we pretty much had the trail to ourselves until we pulled off to the first lookout point and a ton of cars pulled in behind us. So it seemed to me that the tours started around 7:30 to 8 a.m. So I would suggest even getting there around 6 or 6:30 a.m. just so that you can have the off-roading trail all to yourself without worrying about other cars around you. So a couple of spots you can check out along this trail is Submarine Rock, and it's a beautiful rock that you can run across, meditate at, with 360-degree views of the surrounding area. The second spot you can check out is called Chicken Point. Now this has beautiful views of Sedona, and this is where we got these photos. Again, it's very crowded, so a lot of people started pulling up while we were there, so I would again recommend getting there early. So on the loop back, when you're leaving Chicken Point, there is another rock that you can check out. I don't remember the name, but it's hard to miss. You're definitely gonna see it. And it's really fun because you can actually drive your Jeep around the rock. And finally, the last part of this trail, which is probably the most popular part of this trail, is called the Devil's Staircase. And it's exactly how it sounds. It's this super steep downhill section of the trail that literally looks like a staircase of rocks. And it looked pretty scary from where I was sitting at the top with the Jeep. However, when I started driving down, it actually wasn't as scary as it looked, and it was so much fun. After that, we made our way back on the trail to drop off the Jeep and check out the Vortexes before we drove home. So a little bit more about the off-roading trails. There are a ton of different off-roading trails in Sedona. We only had time to do these 3. I would recommend, if you're short on time, definitely check out these 3. You can also just do your own research and even ask the MYE Jeep tour guides where they suggest you go based off your experience and what you want to see. There's definitely a trail for every skill level and every interest. Also, another really important thing to know is that the Jeep ride is very, very bumpy. This is no Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. Like, this is rough. So if you have any back injuries or neck injuries, I would definitely check with your doctor if this is something that you can do. If you also don't want to be tossed around, call dibs on the driver's seat. The driver's seat was the best seat in the house. It was so much fun being able to drive. However, when you're in the passenger seat, you're literally being tossed around, and I hit my head multiple times. Alex even had to get out and walk at one point because it was too much on his neck, even when we were going 2 miles an hour at the easiest trail. So just make sure you check in with yourself, see how you're doing to make sure that this is something that you can do. Now, onto my favorite part, the vortexes. So what even are vortexes? There are a ton of different vortexes around the world, and essentially it's where there's amplified energy in that area. So what does that mean for you on an energetic level? Basically, it means it's going to amplify whatever you are currently feeling. So if you're already very happy and excited, you're going to feel a boost of energy and a boost of happiness. However, if you're feeling a little bit anxious and have racing thoughts, it might amplify that as well. So there are 3 different types of energy vortexes. The first one is the magnetic vortex. Now this one is the feminine yin energy, meaning it's more soft, more nurturing, and this is a perfect place to meditate and have some self-reflection and contemplation. One of the feminine vortexes in Sedona is called Cathedral Rock. The next energy vortex is called electrical. Now this is opposite than magnetic. It's the yang masculine energy. So this is going to be more energizing, more about moving forward and setting your intentions for the future. A lot of people say this feels like taking a shot of espresso, and I can definitely agree with that. One of the masculine vortexes is called bell rock. And the last type of energy vortex is a balanced vortex. So basically it's a balance between the feminine and the male energy. So you get a mix of both, one of them being Airport Mesa and another one being Boynton Canyon. So a little history about the vortexes. Native Americans like the Navajos and the Hopis would honor these places as sacred spaces, and they would only come to them for certain specific rituals. So keep that in mind when you're visiting these vortexes, is that they were once considered very, very sacred, and they still have very sacred energy. So make sure when you're going, you're respecting the land and respecting the energy there. So the 4 main vortexes in Sedona are Bell Rock, Cathedral Rock, Boynton Canyon, and Airport Mesa. Now, I only had the chance to visit Boynton Canyon, and I actually did a whole podcast episode about my visit there. It was honestly so insane. The whole time in Sedona, I had felt really anxious. I was already feeling anxious and a little overworked just because of how much work I was doing there. So because I was in a place with a lot of energy vortexes, it actually amplified my energy. But once I visited the Boynton Canyon vortex and actually meditated there between the masculine and the feminine vortex, it really reset me and made me feel so energized. And I actually have a crazy story about a man I met there named Robert. He literally has been going there every day for the past 10 years, and he carves these beautiful rocks out of the red rock stone, making them into hearts, and he gives them out to people and just spreads love and light. So if you want to hear more about my vortex experience, then definitely check out my podcast Kendall's World and check out the episode on Sedona. I will link below. And last but not least, photo spots. So there are obviously a ton of beautiful spots to take photos, and I'm just going to give you a few tips on where to take these photos and what to do at each of these places so that you can get the best photo possible. So one of the first photo spots I would recommend is actually on your drive to Sedona. So about 20 to 30 minutes away from the main town when you're driving into Sedona, you're going to see all the beautiful rocks start to pop up, and it's a great spot to take a little video on the road or take a photo in the car. The next photo spot is obviously Devil's Bridge. So for me, this was my favorite photo spot. It was so beautiful, and I got some amazing videos, and I even got this crazy viral video that I posted the other day right here.
Oh,
So my suggestions for this, like I said, is to go really early. There's always a huge line at this spot, so you want to make sure you get there early so that you have enough time to take photos without having to wait in line or without having to worry about people waiting in line for you to get your shot. So I would recommend starting your hike around 4 a.m. and starting to take your photos right when the sun rises and before the sun peaks over the mountain, because it gets way too bright once the light is hitting you at a harsh angle. Another suggestion is to bring a tripod so that you can set up your own camera or your phone so that you don't have to ask others to get a photo of you. So to get the best photo, you're gonna wanna have your camera be at an angle from the bridge. If you stand directly in front, you don't get to see the full arch of the bridge. So walk a little bit to the right as if you're walking to go on the bridge and set up your tripod there and have the angle be with the arch in the middle of the photo. Now you're gonna wanna stand in the middle of the arch because I think just that's like the best composition for this photo. And my tip would be to wear something bright, either something white or something bright blue, another color that stands out against the red rock. Also, since you are really small in the frame of the photo, try to make yourself bigger, either putting your arms all the way out, having your arms up, running across, but of course, be safe, don't trip, don't do anything stupid. We got a ton of cool videos and photos here, and I love this photo spot. Next photo spot would be Cathedral Rock. So there are a few different photo spots along the way. So the main two would be when you get to the very top in the middle between the two rocks, go to the right and you're going to see the main photo spot where a lot of people take engagement photos or elopement photos. You can stand on the rock there and get a photo from the other side and get the entire background. So this is more of a silhouette photo. So if you want to have yourself be lit up, maybe go earlier in the morning so that the sun is facing you. But if you want that sunset silhouette photo, go at sunset, and you can always brighten up or enhance the shadows so that you can see yourself and the sunset as well. So here are the few of the photos that we got here. Another photo spot is if you continue to hike left and you just basically go around the bend and then you're gonna hike up a little bit of a rock and then you'll be at a smaller little crevice and you'll see a really cool rock standing straight up. Don't know the name for that type of rock, but that was another one of my favorite photo spots. That's where I got these photos. You can either stand or sit in the middle with the rock behind you, or you can sit on the edge and stand on the little edge with the rock behind you and look towards the rock. My only suggestion would be to get there a little bit before sunset, because when the sun started to set, the light was being a little bit too direct, so it was a little too bright to take your photos there. And also make sure you take a photo with a wide lens here, just so that you can see the whole area around you. So the next photo spots I already mentioned in the Jeep tour, but they were essentially on the trails, and you don't have to rent a Jeep to get there. You can actually hike to get there. It's just gonna take a bit longer. But one of the spots on the Soldier's Pass is Devil's Kitchen. You can take a picture with the sinkhole, or you can take a picture with your Jeep and the big rock background. Another photo is at the 7 Sacred Pools, and the last one on Soldier's Pass is at the cave. So you can actually hike in the cave and get your photos there. Some more photos you can get at the sunset at Schnebly Lookout Point, and you can also get some photos on Broken Arrow at Submarine Rock, Chicken Point, and any of the lookout points within Broken Arrow. Honestly, there are so many places to get beautiful photos in Sedona, and you can't go wrong with wherever you get your photos. Hopefully these tips were helpful, and you can always reach out to me if you have any questions about where I took a specific photo or how I got that shot by messaging me on Instagram. And that is it for this Sedona travel guide video. Hopefully the mistakes that I made on my trip can now be lessons for you so that you don't repeat the same mistakes and that you can plan the best trip possible. If you like this video, please give it a like and share it with some of your adventure-loving friends. Who also comment below, who would you go on this road trip with, and what would be your first stop in Sedona based on my travel guide and the places that I went. Also, feel free, if you have any questions, please comment them below, or if you have any additional tips for Sedona, comment them below as well. I love hearing more tips about the places that I went. If you want to see more travel content, then you can subscribe to my channel, and you can also hear more travel stories on my podcast, Kendall's World. So I'm very excited about this. I've been wanting to launch a podcast for so long, and I finally did about a month and a half ago. It's called Kendall's World, and it's all about travel, spirituality, and mindfulness and mindset. So make sure you go check that out. I'll link below the Sedona episode I have telling you about my crazy vortex story in Sedona. It's a lot more of a spontaneous type type of thing. Nothing like my YouTube videos, which are really planned. Instead, this is more of like a impromptu, spontaneous storytelling of my time in Sedona, along with some spiritual lessons that I learned in Sedona and how to best prepare yourself for the intense energy of Sedona. So if you want to hear more about that, you can check it out below, Kendall's World on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to your podcasts. And if you want to see more photos and videos from my travels, then you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys on the next video. See ya!